I'm 28 years old and thought my life was on track. I had a good job, lived in a decent apartment, and for nearly 3 years, I had a girlfriend whom I envisioned marrying someday. Our relationship wasn't perfect, no relationship ever is, but I was fully committed. I trusted her completely, or at least I used to. For the last few months, though, something felt off. You know that gut feeling? The one that tells you something isn't right, even when you don't have any solid proof? That's exactly what I was experiencing. My girlfriend, whom I'll refer to as C, started acting strangely. She kept her phone close at all times, often tilting the screen away from me when she was texting. Suddenly, there were all these so-called work trips and girls' weekends she didn't bother to mention. Whenever I asked for details, she would become defensive. At first, I tried to dismiss my concerns. I didn't want to be that paranoid boyfriend, the one who constantly checks up on his partner. I reassured myself that I was overthinking things. But the feeling wouldn't go away. I figured if anything suspicious was going on, it would likely show in our joint bank account. We had opened it together when we started saving for a house, a future we both envisioned. Then one day, I noticed something alarming, a withdrawal of $3,000 with no explanation. I tried to remain calm and approached C casually, saying, "Hey babe, what's with this $3,000 withdrawal? Did you buy something big?" She barely looked up from her phone and replied, "Oh, yeah, I booked a girls' trip with them." The casualness of her response hit me like a slap. "A girls' trip?" I asked, my voice steady but my heart racing. "You didn't mention that." She rolled her eyes, clearly annoyed. "I didn't think I needed to give you a play-by-play of my plans." Her dismissive attitude infuriated me. I wasn't asking for constant updates, but $3,000 was a significant amount, especially when we were supposed to be saving for our future together. I decided not to push it further, convincing myself that maybe she just needed a break, and I shouldn't make a big deal out of it. But that night, I couldn't sleep. Something was definitely off. In a moment of desperation, I did something I never thought I would. I went through her phone. What I found shattered me. There were a series of texts, emails, and flight confirmations that proved she wasn't going on a girls' trip at all. She was going on vacation with her ex. My heart raced as I scrolled through the messages. This wasn't just a few exchanges. They had been planning this trip for weeks behind my back. It wasn't even about the money anymore. It was the sheer betrayal that cut the deepest. I could have confronted her then and there, but something inside me snapped. I wanted her to feel the same panic I was feeling. So, I acted like everything was normal. I even kissed her goodbye the next morning, telling her to have fun on her trip. As soon as she walked out the door, I froze our joint bank account. In that moment, I wasn't thinking about whether it was right or wrong. I was hurt, and I wanted her to feel the consequences of her actions. Hours later, my phone rang. It was C, and she was frantic. "What the hell did you do?" she screamed. I leaned back in my chair, trying to hide the satisfaction in my voice. "What do you mean my cards are getting declined everywhere? What did you do to the account?" I calmly replied, "Oh, I froze it. Figured it was the least I could do after finding out you're on vacation with your ex." There was a heavy silence on the line. Then came the familiar defense. "It's not what you think," she exclaimed. But I wasn't interested in her excuses. I read everything, emails, texts. "You lied. You've been planning this for weeks." She stammered, desperately trying to come up with an excuse, but I wasn't having any of it. "If you wanted to be with him, why didn't you just leave me?" I asked, my voice harder than I intended. "I didn't want to hurt you," she finally replied, but I couldn't believe it. I let out a cold, bitter laugh. "So instead, you lied to me, stole our money, and went on vacation with your ex? That was your plan to not hurt me?" There was a pause, and then her tone shifted. She dropped the guilt act and went straight to defense mode. "Maybe if you weren't so obsessed with saving for that stupid house, I wouldn't have had to do this. You've been so focused on the future that you forgot about me." I couldn't believe it. She was trying to flip the situation on me as if I was the one in the wrong. It was infuriating and surreal, and in that moment, I realized how far removed we were from the relationship I thought we had. It was my fault that she was sneaking off with her ex. Instead of confronting me about her feelings, she chose to lie to my face. I confronted her, asking her directly about the situation, but she sighed, exasperated. "You just don't get it. I needed space. I needed time to think," she said, referencing her time with him. "You needed space from me with your ex?" I shot back, my voice rising. Her response was defensive. "He's just a friend. You're blowing this out of proportion." I felt anger boiling inside me as I clenched my jaw. "Right, just a friend. That's why you lied about it and kept it hidden from me." For a moment, she fell silent, and I could see her grappling with her thoughts, trying to twist the situation into something that made sense. But I was beyond reasoning. "We're done," I declared, finally breaking the suffocating silence. "Wait, what? "You're breaking up with me over this," she exclaimed, her voice tinged with disbelief. "You lied and used our money to go on a trip with your ex. What did you expect would happen?" I shot back, feeling the gravity of the situation settle in. "You can't just leave me stranded here," she yelled, panic creeping into her voice. "How am I supposed to get home?" In that moment, I felt no sympathy or guilt, just a cold, harsh reality. "Not my problem," I replied flatly. "You made your choice." With that, I hung up before she could respond. The following days passed in a blur. I moved out of the apartment, removed my name from the lease, and canceled all the bills associated with my name. I blocked her on every platform, phone, social media, email, determined to cut her out of my life completely. I was finished with her. A couple of weeks later, I heard through a mutual friend that she was telling people I had abandoned her, that I had left her without a penny to my name. At first, I laughed at the absurdity of it. It was classic C. She always had a knack for spinning the narrative to cast herself as the innocent victim. But I refused to let her rewrite our story. So, I began sharing my side, about the lies, the ex, the money spent on a trip I hadn't agreed to. Some of our friends were shocked, others were not. Many knew her well enough to understand how manipulative she could be. While most sided with me, a few chose to believe her version of events. Whatever. I was done wasting energy on her and her drama. In the end, the emotional fallout wasn't as painful as I had anticipated. The hurt didn't stem from losing her, rather, it came from realizing that the person I thought I knew had never truly existed. She had been wearing a mask the entire time, and I had been too blind to see through it. Here's the harsh truth: people will eventually reveal their true selves if you pay attention. When they do, you have a choice. You can ignore the signs and hope they'll change, or you can do what I did, walk away. Since our breakup, I haven't heard much about C. The last I knew, she was couch surfing at a friend's place because she could no longer afford rent. Apparently, she tried to get a refund for the trip she had taken with her ex, but the flights and hotel were non-refundable. That's the price you pay when you spend $3,000 on a lie. Part of me wonders if her ex even stayed with her or if she ended up high and dry, just like she deserved. But honestly, I no longer care. What I learned from this whole experience is that you can't control what others do, you can only control how you respond. When someone lies, cheats, or manipulates you, you must be willing to walk away, no matter how much it hurts. Staying only serves to destroy you in the long run. Sure, I'm angry that I lost years of my life to her, but I'm even angrier with myself for ignoring the warning signs. The truth is, the writing was on the wall long before I discovered those texts. I just didn't want to see it. I kept convincing myself she was better than that she wouldn't betray me. I was wrong. People don't change just because you want them to, and sometimes the only way to move forward is to cut them off completely.